Yeah. So good morning. Welcome back. We were discussing about effect of water table in our previous class, right? So what I will do, just I will rush over that whatever thing we have discussed in previous class, and then we will see. We will try to solve some problems based on the uh, Kazai's bearing capacity theory. Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing about the effect of water table, right? So what happened once this when Kazagi was deriving this equation, he did not consider the effect of water table. Okay, so all of you can hear my voice and as well as you can see my screen, right? Please respond, anybody, if you can hear my voice and can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So when Terzaghi was deriving his equation, he did not consider the effect of water table. What he considered was the water table is way beyond the your width of foundation in the depth direction. In the sense, what I want to convey is, let me take this pen. Yeah. So while deriving the equation for the bearing capacity theory, so he considered the water table is at a depth which is equal to the width of foundation. That means it is way beyond way beyond this d plus b in that region, this region. Okay. So if the water table is in this region, then there is no effect of water table on the bearing capacity equation, because see, this is my first term, this is my second term, and this is my third term. Okay, so this second term is contributed by the soil present at this level. Okay, so up to whatever soil is present here, it is contributing to the my this second term. Okay, so this is my second term. Okay, so this second term is contributed by this soil. Okay, so and whatever this third term is there, take the different color here. Okay, so whatever this third term is there, this third term is contributed by the soil present here. Sorry. Just a minute. Some problem. I will discard here. That's it. Where is this highlighter? Yeah. So what I was telling, the first term, this is my first term, and this is my second term. So the second term is contributed by this soil, right? Whatever soil present here, and this third term is there. No, this third term with the green mark, whatever I written here, this third term is contributed by the soil present at this level. Okay, so this depth, this depth is equal to the width of foundation. Whatever this depth is there, no. So this depth is equal to the width of foundation. So that is equal to b. So if the water table is way beyond this level, then there is no need to apply any correction. That is my first case. So that first case means, you see, just watch the animation how the water table is varying here. Okay, so what happened in the monsoon season? In the monsoon season, the water table is here. Okay, so always the water table will be at its highest level during monsoon season. Okay, so and then in the summer season, what will happen? Usually water will evaporate and then it will reduce. Okay, so if the water table is fluctuating between this depth, if the water table is fluctuating between this depth, then there is no need to, no correction is required. Okay, so there is no correction we can apply. Okay, so that means whatever these parameters are there, these density, these are nothing but the unit weight parameters. Okay, so your unit weight parameters, you can take it as a bulk density. Okay, so that means your gamma dash and these here, whatever gamma dash is there, and here whatever gamma dash is there, that you can take it as a bulk unit weight. Okay, so no correction is required. As it is, you can calculate. Coming to the second case. Okay, In the second case, what it is about, if the water table is at the footing level and likely to rise to the ground surface. So that means, so in the summer season, the water table is somewhere here at the level of the footing, and then once the winter, once your monsoon starts, what will happen? The water table may rise up to, it can come up to your depth, your ground level. Okay, so this is my ground level. So in that case, what you have to do? You have to consider this unit weight as a whatever gamma dash is there. This you should take it as a buoyancy unit weight. Okay, and also this is also buoyancy unit weight. Okay, so that means your gamma dash will be whatever this gamma prime is there. This gamma prime will become your bulk density minus unit weight of water. That means effective weight I have to consider in the second term. In the third term also, whatever the soil, I have to consider the effective weight. Why? Because whatever, if the water table is at the ground level, whatever soil present in this region, whatever soil present in this region, as well as whatever soil present in this region, so both are affected by this groundwater table. That's why I have to apply the correction for the my second term as well as my third term. For the both terms, I have to apply the correction. What is that correction? Is simply you take the submerged unit weight. So this is nothing but gamma dash is nothing but your submerged unit weight. That means your whatever saturated density is, that minus unit weight of water will give me the effective weight. Okay. So this is about your second case. Okay. So then, what is my third case? Third case is if the water table is at the foundation level in the monsoon season, and then in the summer it may fluctuate between your from here to from here. If the water table is fluctuating in this region, if the water table is fluctuating in this region, then I have to apply correction only to the third term. I need not to apply any correction to this second term. Because why I need not to apply? Because whatever the second term is there, this second term is contributed by what soil? Second term is contributed by the soil present above the footing level. Okay, since there is no effect of this water table on this soil, so I need not to apply any correction. Okay, whereas the water table is affecting only the soil present below the footing. Okay, from here to here. That's why I am applying correction in the only third term. Okay, so how to apply that correction? You see, so this second term, I have to take this bulk unit weight. No correction at all here. Whereas in the third term, see, this is the soil present here. Whatever the soil is present here, that will contribute to my third term. Okay, so here I have to take the weighted effective weight. This weighted effective weight means, see, I have to take the this submerged unit weight or buoyancy unit weight. That is nothing but your bulk unit weight or saturated unit weight minus your unit weight of water into 1 minus dW minus d by b. What is dW? dW is nothing but the width of the depth of water table from the ground level. Okay, so this water table is the, see, this water table may be here, or it may be here, or it may be here, or it may be here, anywhere. Okay, so to get this unique equation, what I have to do, I have to take the weighted unit weight here. Okay, in this region is there. No? This is, I have to take a weighted unit weight. So that how we will get weighted unit weight? By using this equation. Okay, so I will solve one problem in the maybe next class. Okay, so today I won't solve a problem based on the water table. Okay, so digest this concepts. Okay, so tomorrow I will solve one problem based on the fluctuation of this groundwater table. Okay, so this is very important concept. So whatever problems they ask in this chapter, they are all based on this fluctuation of water table. Okay, so this is what we discussed in our previous class, and also we we also told that since Terzaghi was suffering from some these limitations. Okay, so due to these limitations, many other scientists, what they did, they used the Terzaghi equation, and then they incorporated some new parameters so that that can be used for a wide variety of problems. Maybe like if you have a inclined loading, or if you have a like rectangular footing, because Terzaghi not given the equation for the rectangular foundations. Okay, and also these equations, they incorporated depth factor, shape factor, inclination factor, and if your foundation itself is inclined, if your foundation is itself is inclined, then also how to find out the bearing capacity. And if your foundation is horizontal but your ground is inclined, your foundation is horizontal but your ground is inclined, okay, in that case, how to find out the bearing capacity? All those things are incorporated by these scientists. Okay, so like Meyerhof, Brinch-Hansen, and Wessick. Okay, so the most state-of-the-art equation is by this Wessick. Okay, so almost this Wessick is more accurate, results will be more accurate, and it can be applicable for the variety of problems. Okay, so what I just mentioned here. Okay, so inclined footing, or inclined ground, or inclined loading itself, or for the different shape of foundation, for all the purpose you can use this Wessick equation, which is a state-of-the-art equation. Okay, so Wessick in 1973 and 75 is based on the theoretical and experimental findings. He come up with a different equation based on, again, this Wessick also, whatever theory he proposed, this is based on Terzaghi's formula only, but he incorporated some other things so that it can be applicable for the wider problems. It produces more accurate bearing capacity values, but the drawback is it becomes more complicated. This Wessick equation become more complicated. So just you see here, so this is what the Wessick equation is called. Wessick and Brinch-Hansen, both together they come up with some general bearing capacity equations. Okay, so this is called as general bearing capacity equation, which is based on Wessick and your Hansen. So you see, if you forget these parameters, this equation is same like your Terzaghi only. So whatever I'm circling here, that if you remove these parameters, it is just like a Terzaghi bearing capacity equation. Okay. So if you remove these encircled parameters, then it will become like a Terzaghi bearing capacity equation. Okay. So this is called as general bearing capacity equation. Okay, so this is called general bearing capacity equation. So what are these here? Anyway, C, you know, C is the cohesion, and NC is nothing but your NC, NQ, and N gamma are nothing but your bearing capacity factors. Okay, and what are the extra terms here? Extra terms are SC, BC, IC, GC, and BC. Okay, what are these? SC is nothing but shape factor. BC is nothing but a depth factor. IC is nothing but your inclination factor, and GC is nothing but your ground factor. If the slope of the ground on which the footing is built. Okay, so if the ground itself is with some slope, then this GC will come into picture. Okay, if ground is horizontal, then this GC will become 1. Okay, and also in the same way, if the inclination factor is nothing but the application whatever in the load you are applying, no, so that direction. If you are applying exactly vertical, then there is no need to apply this IC. That IC will become 1. Okay, so similarly, PQ, IQ, GQ, BQ, and S gamma, D gamma, I gamma, G gamma, and B gamma. Okay, so G is nothing but the ground inclination factor, and B is nothing but the base factor. That means footing itself is inclined. The footing itself is having some inclination. That is my base factor. If the ground is inclined, that is my ground factor. If my loading is inclined, that is my inclination factor. And D is the depth factor. So this is your general bearing capacity equation. Okay, now coming to the our IS method. Okay, so see IS 6403 also will mention how to calculate the bearing capacity equation. Okay, so first I will explain this slide, then I will go to the actual IS 6403, and there I will show you what are the tables and what are the equations and what are the formulas you should concentrate in the IS 6403. Anyway, IS 6403, if they ask you to solve the problem based on IS 6403, then they must allow you to carry this IS 6403. I'll show that code in a moment. Okay, so first let me discuss this slide. So this slide is nothing but it is a summary of your IS 6403. Okay, so IS 6403 will tell you how to calculate the ultimate bearing capacity. This is my general equation. So what it is telling, you see, again it is exactly like a Terzaghi equation only. Only the difference is, you see, SC, DC, IC, and SQ, DQ, IQ, and S gamma, D gamma, I gamma. These are the extra terms only. Otherwise, it is a Terzaghi's bearing capacity equation only. So first, net ultimate QNU is nothing but net ultimate bearing capacity is equal to cohesion. These are the bearing capacity factors: NC, your shape factor, and your depth factor, and your inclination factor. Plus, this is my second term, and this is my third term. So in the third term, Q NQ minus 1 SQ DQ IQ plus 0.5 gamma B N gamma S gamma D gamma I gamma. Okay, so this equation is important. You have to remember this. Okay, so as I when I see previous year question paper, they did not mention in the note. Usually in the note they will mention that what are the IS codes are allowed to carry in the examination hall, right? So but I never seen the note which is exclusively telling that IS 6403 is allowed inside the examination hall. Okay, if they are not mentioning, then you cannot carry the these code inside your examination hall. Okay, in that case you should be able to remember this formula. Only this formula is you can remember. Other things, these are not required, because they will give directly shape factor. They will give SC, SQ, S gamma. They will give directly shape factors. They will give, and also DC, DQ, D gamma, and IC, IQ, I gamma. Okay, so they will give directly these. At least you should remember this equation. This equation, at least this equation you should remember. Okay, so this is the general formula. Suppose if you have a cohesion soil, suppose if you have a cohesion soil like clays, if you have clays, then you should use this equation. This one, QNU equal to CU into NC, SC, DC, IC. Okay, other terms will become 0 here, because see your NQ will be 1. Okay, for phi equal to 0, for phi equal to 0, your NQ is equal to 1 and N gamma is equal to 0. Okay, so if N gamma is 0, then this term will become 0. If NQ is 1, then N1 minus 1 will become 0, and this term also will become 0. Okay, so you left with only my first term, this term. C undrained cohesion into NC, SC, DC into IC. Okay, and here you see the note here, whatever NC, NQ, N gamma, whatever IS 6403 is taking, it is from the VESIC formula. Okay, so whatever VESIC has given, those parameters only they are taking it. They borrowed from this VESIC equation. NC, NQ, and N gamma. Okay, so these are the shape factors. Okay, so what are the shape factors? SC, SQ, and S gamma. These are the shape factors, and the depth factors. Depth factors are nothing but DC, DQ, D gamma. Okay, so inclination factors are IC, IQ, I gamma. Okay, so hold on a minute. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So these are the shape factors. So these are the shape factors, and these are the depth factors, and these are the inclination factors. Okay. So no need to remember these equations. Not required. These equations. Please don't try to remember also. Okay. So only you have to remember this equation. Okay. So this equation is important. This thing you should remember. Okay. Yeah. So let me go to that IS 6403. So this is IS 6403. Yeah. All of you can see this code. Please respond. Whether are you able to see this code?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this deals with a code of practice for determination of the bearing capacity of a shallow foundations. Okay. So here you should the important things only I will discuss here. Okay. So first some terminologies are there. Okay, like net and load. I will come to these things in the later part of my presentation. Okay. So these things I will discuss later. So now you have to see here some symbols are there. What is the A dash? Okay. So these things you should just go through this code. So important things you should concentrate is here. Okay. So you see soils with a cohesion and angle of internal friction. So this equation and this equation. In case of general shear case, this is the equation, and in case of local shear case, okay. So here if you see there is no factors here. SC shear factor is not there, depth factor is not there, and also your inclination factors are not there. Okay. So but coming to here the same equations. Yeah. Here you see now. So this you see SC NC, SC DC IC, SQ DQ IQ, S gamma, D gamma, and I gamma. Okay, so what is this W dash? For time being, don't bother about this W dash. Okay, I will come to that later. So this W dash is nothing but the water table correction factor. Okay, I will explain this in the next slide. Okay, so this is for the general shear case, and this is for local shear case. So what is the difference between this general shear case and local shear case? Only that these parameters. Okay, so NC, NQ, and N gamma. So these are for general shear case, and NC dash, NQ dash, and N gamma dash. These are for local shear case. Okay, so see this how to get this NC, NQ, and N gamma. So these can be determined by this table. You see table number 1. This table number 1 will tell you for different phi value from 0, 5, 10, 15, 20 up to 50 degree they given. Okay. So for different phi value they given NC value, NQ value, and N gamma value they given. Okay. So for example, for a phi value of 20, then you can take NC as 14.83, NQ as 6.4, and N gamma is 5.39. Okay. Suppose if my phi value is in between 20 and 25, suppose my phi value is somewhere like 23, then what you have to do? You have to interpolate between these two. You have to interpolate, linear interpolation you should do. But in examination they will give directly these parameters, they will give directly NC, NQ, N gamma they will give. Provided if they are not allowing you to carry this code. If they are allowing you to carry this code, then they won't give NC, NQ, and gamma. You have to refer this table and then get these numbers. But as far as your previous year question papers are concerned, in all the question paper, whatever I seen, they will give directly NC, NQ, and N gamma value. They will give directly. So no need to. That means they are not allowing you to carry this 6403. Suppose if you are assuming it as a local share case. Suppose you are assuming it as a local share case, then NC dash, NQ dash, N gamma dash you have to take. But if you refer this table, there is no NC dash, NQ dash, and N gamma dash. They are not provided. But you see this note here at the end, at the bottom of this table, you see note. For obtaining the values of NC dash, NQ dash, and N gamma dash, calculate phi dash. That means that phi dash is nothing but tan inverse of 0.67 times your tan phi, whatever angle of refraction is, that means 2/3 you are reducing that phi value. And then for that reduced phi value, you take the tan inverse of tan inverse function you take for that a reduced value. Then whatever phi value you will get, that phi whatever phi dash value you will get, you take that phi dash value here. Suppose your phi dash value is 10 degree. If I get the phi dash as 10 degree, then your NC dash, this will be your NC dash, and then this will be your NQ dash, and then this will be your N gamma dash. Okay. Now, so now I come to I just we have learned that how to get a NC, NQ, and N gamma. Now we understood. Now we will see SC. What is the shape factor? Okay, so depending on the different shape of your structure, foundation, your SC, SQ, S gamma will vary. Okay, so you see these are the shape factor. So shape factors SC, SQ, S gamma. Suppose if your foundation is continuous strip footing, then your shape factors will become 1. Suppose if you have a rectangular foundation, then shape factor to calculate your SC, SQ, S gamma, you should use this equation. Suppose if your foundation is square or circular, then correspondingly you should use SC, SQ, and S gamma value. Correspondingly you should use. Only if you have a rectangular foundation, then you have to calculate a little bit. Otherwise, straight away just pick this number and put it here. So this is about shape factors. Now, after shape factors, we will see the depth factor. How to calculate the depth factor? Okay, you see here is the depth factors. So DC, DQ, D gamma. Depending on your N phi value, you can calculate. What is N phi? If you want to calculate this N phi value, you see, you go to here. Yeah, you see this one. This is my N phi value. N phi is nothing but tan square of pi by 4 plus phi by 2. You calculate N phi value. Then come to this this section 5.1.2.2 where you can calculate the depth factors. Okay, so DC, DQ, D gamma. Okay, so DC is equal to this much, DQ is equal to D gamma is equal to 1, provided your phi value is less than 10 degree. If your phi value is greater than 10 degree, then DQ and D gamma is equal to 1 plus 0.1 into dF by B into square root of N phi. Okay. So how to calculate N phi? Just now I shown you. So these are the depth factors. Okay, and these are my inclination factors. Okay, so what are the inclination factors? IC equal to IQ equal to 1 minus alpha by 90 degree. And I gamma is equal to 1 minus alpha by phi whole square. What is alpha here? Alpha is nothing but your you see here somewhere given alpha. Yeah, alpha, you see, alpha is inclination of the load to the vertical in degrees. Okay, so that means if you have a foundation like this, so this is your centroid, and like this, if your load is there, so this is my alpha. Okay, if you have a load like this. Okay, understood now. So basic equation are these two. This is for general shear case. Sorry. So this is for general shear case and this is for the local shear case. And then how to calculate shape factors. These are the shape factors. And then these are the depth factors. So these are the depth factors, and then these are the inclination factors. Okay. And from table 1, I will get these bearing capacity factors, that is NC, NQ, and gamma. Any doubt here regarding IS 6403? This I will come to here later. Okay, so effect of water table. Okay, so I will discuss that in the coming slide. Suppose if you have a cohesion-less soil, okay, so this is general, okay, so this is general formula. Suppose if you have a cohesion soil or suppose if you have a cohesion-less soil, then a little bit changes will happen, okay. So if you remember this equation, that's enough, okay. So you can accordingly you can put your cohesion and angle of internal friction values here and get these equations. And one more important thing here is this graph. You see, this is the relation between phi value and n value. Okay, this n value I will come to the in the final like in your second part of this unit. Okay, so this you will get from the standard penetration test. Okay, so from the standard penetration test, if I get the n value, and then I can get the corresponding phi value, that is angle of internal friction. So this for this table I will discuss in the second part. So any doubt till now regarding these equations? How to calculate these SC, DC, IC? Any doubts? Chinmay, are you there, Chinmay? Spurti, have you understood this IS 6403?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But see, majority of the problems, so whatever I saw from your question paper, previous year question paper, they asked from the Terzaghi's bearing capacity equation. Okay, but even if they ask IS 6403, there is no much difference. Okay, so only thing you have to remember that equation. Anyway, the depth factor, inclination factor, and shape factors, everything will be provided in the question paper itself. Anyway, I will solve the problems at that time. It will be more clearer for you. So based on each concept, I will solve 2-3 problems. Okay. Yeah, coming to the effect of water table. Okay, so how IS 6403 will ask you to do the this water table correction. Okay, so whatever this water table correction we have seen here. Okay, so this is the general, but according to IS 6403, how you will do? So it is almost the same only. So it is not almost 100% same only, but the way of representation is little bit different here. Okay, so you see now we will see the effect of water table on bearing capacity as per IS 6403. Okay, so let me write here as per IS 6403. As per IS 6403, how the water table corrections will be done. Again, same 3 cases will be there. So first case, you see, case number 1. If the water table is likely to permanently remain at or below depth of df plus b beneath the ground level, then and then your water table correction W dash will be equal to 1. That means what he is telling, case number 1. You recall from our previous discussion. Okay, what was our case number 1? If the water table is much beyond the depth which is equal to df plus b. Okay, if the water table is somewhere here. So this is limit of influence I'm writing here. Okay, what is the limit of influence here? Depth of footing plus whatever the width is there, whatever width of footing is there, that in the depth direction. Okay. Suppose this width is 2 meter, then your depth also will be 2 meter here. Okay, that means your depth of footing may be some 1.5 meter. So 1.5 plus 2, around 3.5 meter. If the water table is below 3.5 meter, then your water table correction will be 1. What do you mean by this? Water table correction is 1 means what? There is no correction at all. If you multiply by some quantity with 1, this is not going to change, right? Your quantity is remains same. So that essentially is telling no correction is required. So case number 1 is no correction. No correction is required. Okay, you see, this is the whatever correction you are applying, this will vary between 0.5 and 1. So the maximum correction is 0.5 and minimum correction is 1. In the y direction, in the x direction, if you see, this is the water table correction. The maximum amount of water correction is 0.5 and the minimum is 1. Okay, so that when 1 will come, if the water table is much below the depth which is equal to your width of foundation. Now this is my case 1. If the water table is somewhere here, that means your my dw is there. Now this dw is equal to, so for case number 1, so for case number 1, dw is equal to what? Df plus b. Df plus b. Okay. Now so if I come here df plus b, then if I go to this, what is my table correction? That is 1. Okay. Now coming to the second case. Okay, so the second case, what was the second case here? My second case was my water table was somewhere here in the summer season, and there is every possibility that this water table can rise up to this level. It can rise up to the ground level. What you have to do during that time? That means your depth of footing is there, no? This depth, your depth of water table, is equal to df. Then that means your correction factor will be 0.5. Okay. You have to use the correction factor as 0.5 here. If the water table is located at a depth df are likely to rise to the ground surface, then your w dash, that is your water table correction will be 0.5. If some quantity is there, okay, so some x quantity is there, if you multiplying that quantity with 0.5, what it is, it is almost reduced by what? Half, right? It is almost reduced by half the quantity. Okay, so suppose I have a 20, and if you multiply by 0.5, how much it will reduce? Almost 50% it will reduce. Okay, so case 3. What is my case 3? If the water table is likely to permanently got located at a depth here, that means your water table is varying between in this region. If the water table is fluctuating, whatever this is, this table, water table, this water table can fluctuate between this region. Okay, in that case, what I have to do? I have to interpolate between 0.5 and 1. Okay, so that means somewhere here. So I have to interpolate here between 0.5 and 1. So linear interpolation I should do 0.5 and 1. So maybe like 0.65 you may get, 0.3 you may get, or 0.65, 0.75, depending on. So almost between 0.5 to 1 it will vary. If the water table is below, if the water table is varying in this region, if the water table is varying, then your correction factor will be between 0.5 and 1. If my water table is permanently here at the ground level, my correction factor will be 0.5. If the water table is permanently here, then my water table correction will be 1. Okay. Any doubt here? Okay. So now coming how that water table will affect your equation. You see. So in my previous IS, when I was showing IS 6403, I talked about this W dash. What is this W dash? Okay, so this W dash is nothing but your water table correction factor. Okay, this is water table correction factor. That is your W dash. So CNC, SC, DC, IC, Q, NQ minus 1, SQ, DQ, IQ plus 0.5, gamma B, N gamma, S gamma, D gamma, I gamma. Okay. Now, so this is my first term, and this is my second term. This is my second term, and this is my third term. Okay. So in the first term, if your water table is fluctuating between, this region, that means your case number 3. In the case number 3, case 3 was talking about the water table may fluctuate between in this region. Okay, so at that time what will happen? Your W dash will vary between 0.5 and 1. So maximum your W dash may be 0.5 and minimum it may be 1. Okay. Then if the water table is fluctuating between this region, let me take different color here. Okay, so blue. Okay, so if your water table is fluctuating between this region, if your water table is fluctuating between this region, then what will happen? Your DF will be 0.5. DF will be 0.5. But in my second term, okay, so in the second term, what will happen? See, this Q is there, no? This Q will be either, or before that here, whatever gamma is there, this gamma will be saturated in liquid I want to take. Okay, so since I am applying the correction here, I'm applying correction in the W dash. Your whatever this gamma is there, that gamma should be saturated in liquid. Now coming to this stage, okay, so if the water table is fluctuating between your ground level and your depth of your footing level, then what will happen? Your Q term is there. Now this Q term may have gamma minus gamma W into DF, or it may have a gamma into DF. That means if the water table is exactly here, then gamma into DF. If the water table is somewhere here, then your gamma dash, gamma, whatever in the Q term, whatever gamma is there, no, that you should take a submerged into it. That is gamma minus gamma W. This is nothing but what? Gamma dash into your depth of footing. So these some terminologies are there. These things I will discuss in the next class. So if you have any doubt regarding the water table correction, see, I almost 3 times I repeated this water table correction. Okay, so why am I repeating so many times? Because it's a very important concept, and without understanding that concept, you cannot solve the problem. Okay. So if you have any doubt regarding this one, you please ask me. So when is your next class scheduled? Whether the next class meeting has been given, you know? Yeah, still your next class meeting is not scheduled, I think. Okay, so I will continue for another 5 minutes. Yeah, any doubts here regarding water table corrections? Yes. Okay, don't get confused between the your IS 6403 method and your general method. Huh? Both will essentially will give same result. Huh? Both will give same results. Yes, Aishwarya, any doubts? Aishwarya, brother, no doubt.
No, sir.
So this water table correction, according to IS 6403, how we will do, and in the general case, how we will do. Okay, have you understood the difference?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will take one problem and so I will solve it by both method. Okay, so I will solve it by general method, and same problem I will solve it by IS 6403 also. Okay, so you can see there is no much difference in the answers. Almost you will get same answer. Okay. And who is this? Spurti Kulkarni. Any doubts? Spurti, Varsha, Chinmay.
No, sir.
No. Who is this Varsha? Are you there, Varsha? No doubts? Okay. So I will let's see these terminologies. Okay, so these are like just definitions. Okay, you have to just by heart it. Okay, so because sometimes these terminology are definitions, they will ask in the examinations. Okay, so these are all theory part. So I will finish this and then I will wind up the class. Okay, so some terminologies are very important. So like they will ask you, they may ask you in the exam, define so and so, like that, for two marks. So first terminology is allowable bearing pressure. Okay, so what is the allowable bearing pressure? It is the maximum bearing pressure that can be applied on the soil, satisfying two fundamental requirements. What are those fundamental requirements? One is the bearing capacity with adequate factor of safety and settlement within the permissible limit. Okay, so if both these parameters are satisfied, then that pressure is called as allowable bearing pressure. Okay, so then the second terminology is gross loading intensity. Okay, so what do you mean by gross loading intensity? The gross loading intensity is nothing but the total pressure at the level of foundation, including weight of superstructure, foundation, and soil above the foundation. That means Q gross is equal to Q superstructure. That is your superstructure load, whatever from your whether you are 10-story or 100-story. Okay, so that is the load from your superstructure. Then Q foundation, that is your foundation load, plus the soil present above the footing. Okay, so this soil, whatever soil is present here, no, this soil. All together will give me Q gross. So Q gross is nothing but gross loading intensity. Okay, so gross loading intensity is nothing but your superstructure load plus foundation load plus the soil present above the foundation divided by my area, foundation area, will give me the gross pressure or gross loading intensity. Then net loading intensity. What do you mean by net loading intensity? The net loading intensity is nothing but your gross loading intensity minus this soil, whatever soil present here, gamma into df. That means what do you mean by what do you mean by this? This is nothing but your whatever superstructure load is there, that plus your foundation load. Okay, so you need not to include this soil load, because soil is already present before you are placing your foundation. Soil is already present. Okay, so whatever soil present below here, it is already stressed under this under the load of this soil. Only whatever the extra what do you call elements are coming here. Extra elements is your superstructure and your foundation. Okay. So that is called as your net loading intensity. Net loading intensity is nothing but gross loading intensity minus the soil weight of soil present above the footing level. Okay, that is your net loading intensity. And what is ultimate bearing capacity? What is ultimate bearing capacity? Ultimate bearing capacity is nothing but the maximum gross intensity of a loading that the soil can support against shear failure is called as ultimate bearing capacity. Okay, how you will get this ultimate bearing capacity? Q ultimate, if you remember, Q ultimate equal to CNC plus QNQ plus 0.5 gamma B N gamma. Okay, so this is for strip footing I am taking. Okay, so you will get ultimate load bearing capacity from this equation. Okay, that is your bearing capacity equation. Then what is net ultimate bearing capacity? Net ultimate bearing capacity is nothing but QNU. QNU is nothing but net ultimate bearing capacity is equal to ultimate bearing capacity minus the weight of soil present above the footing level, gamma into df. So this is nothing but gamma into df is nothing but weight of soil present above footing level. Okay, then what is net safe bearing capacity? Net safe bearing capacity is equal to your net ultimate divided by factor of safety. Okay, this factor of safety, it will vary from 2.5 to 3 you can take. Even 3.5 also some people will take, but 3 is enough. 2.5 to 3. So your net safe bearing capacity is equal to net ultimate bearing capacity. This is net ultimate bearing capacity divided by your factor of safety. Will give me net safe bearing capacity. Okay, then what is gross safe bearing capacity? So gross safe bearing capacity is equal to your net safe bearing capacity plus the weight of soil present above the footing. So weight of soil present above footing. Okay, that is my gross safe bearing capacity. Next, what is safe bearing capacity? Now, after gross safe bearing capacity is safe bearing pressure. Okay, so safe bearing pressure is equal to, you will get it from the settlement analysis. That means your whatever settlement you will see. So from that settlement analysis, I will get this safe bearing capacity. Okay, so what is safe bearing capacity? Safe bearing pressure. The maximum net intensity of loading that can be allowed on the soil without settlement exceeding the permissible limit. Without allowing the foundation to go excessive settlement. Next, so what is allowable bearing pressure? So this allowable bearing pressure is nothing but the minimum of your bearing capacity from the, like, your whatever ultimate bearing capacity you got, that and whatever settlement from the settlement analysis, whatever you have got, minimum of that will give me allowable bearing pressure. Okay, so allowable bearing pressure is nothing but it is the maximum net intensity of loading that can be allowed on the soil with no possibility of shear failure as well as the settlement failure. So that is my allowable bearing pressure. Okay, so ultimately your structural engineer need this thing. Okay, so as a geotechnical engineer, you have to give to your structural counterpart this number you should give. This is required by structural engineer. Okay. Yeah, this eccentric footing and all, I will come to that in the maybe tomorrow's class. Okay, so I will end up here. I think your next class is scheduled. Let me check. It's still not scheduled. Huh? Whether you have next class or not? Please respond. Anybody? It's 9:39. When is your next class? Let me see the your timetable. Let me check your timetable. Where I kept your timetables. Eight 9:30. Okay, from 9:40 it will start again. Okay, from 9:40 RBL. Okay, that is your RBL locally. Okay. Yeah. So, any doubts here till now? I will stop recording here. Okay, so I'm going to end the meeting. So we'll meet tomorrow.